You are watching the Love and Money podcast, and today I have a very special guest, Derrick. Thank you for being on the show.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me.
Okay, Derrick. So, what was your childhood like, and what did you see or not see as it pertains to building wealth?
I didn't see much in my childhood when it came to pertaining to building wealth. From the Johnson family, I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana. My grandpa, Willie Johnson, my grandma, Dorothy Blockwood. Uh, I would say that, my family just wanted to get by. I like to say that in my family, when you think about that generation of folk, they just wanted to survive, right? So they really didn't have time to dream. So, my mother's generation, if they wanted to be educated, they could, but then they maybe took on some of the things and values from their parents, meaning just trying to survive. So my mom, Margaret Johnson, gave me the leeway to kind of get out there and shine and be a dreamer. To be able to go to college and things like that is a privilege, it's not a right.
Okay, I hear you. So Derrick, what's your background?
So my background is I graduated from Grambling State University in electronic engineering technology. I have a business master's degree in business management, and I'm currently an engineer. I'm currently an investor, and I also have a few more other companies.
All right. So Derrick, why did you choose real estate?
So for me, real estate is one of the most lucrative vehicles that a person can enter. Uh, it's just been proven through time to be more stable. So I like to talk in terms of people will always be born, people will always die, people will always be sick, people will always be hungry, and people will always need to be sheltered. As long as you can enter into one of those fields, you'll always be able to make money.
Okay, that's interesting. What kind of real estate investing do you do?
So I invest in residential. Uh, I haven't purchased commercial just yet. I have Airbnb. I also have new construction. So I just completed my first new construction rental property a little over a month ago.
Okay. Uh, so Derrick, tell us about like when you were first starting out. Tell us about your first deal and what was that like?
Oh, my first deal was horrible. You guys want to hear about that? I think that investors typical first deals are kind of tough. So my first deal. So I want to say this. Like I came up. I wanted to get in real estate ever since like 2009. And my auntie Linda Rayford, she owned units. My grandma owned rental properties. She had a few, and then my auntie she accumulated 12. And so I definitely wanted to get into the business when I was younger. And I asked my auntie to show me the way because when I was in college, I tried to come home and work on her properties all the time. And the thing about the first deal is I met this guy and I wanted multifamily. So I would say, I had to figure out what I wanted to do after all the podcasts and all the reading. So I wanted to get into multifamily because my concept was that if I buy a two-door piece of property, one door pay my PTI, property taxes and insurance, and then my mortgage and things like that. And then I can just have cash flow on the next side. So
Mhm.
I found this duplex in Monroe, Louisiana, and without a plan, without a risk, I just went for it. So I bought that property at a number that I shouldn't have bought that property yet. I ended up putting about 10 grand back into it and still didn't get it up fully like I needed to. And I refinanced it for a whopping $1,500. So my plan backfired on me, but I learned, and that first property ended up being one of my most successful and lucrative cash flow properties today. The mortgage note on that place is about roughly $320 in our cash flow, getting $1,000 a month in rent.
Okay, Derrick. What does your portfolio look like now?
Ah, to be honest with you, I think my portfolio, I think I'm almost to 30 doors. I got 30 doors, which consist of multifamily triplexes, duplexes, single homes. Like I said, I got an Airbnb and now I got a new construction home as well. I'm excited about that new construction home because eventually I'm gonna lease to own that property to give my people of color, a chance to own and home ownership in their neighborhood. So in about 2 years, I'll do lease to own for that property, and hopefully we can get a nice family into that home.
Okay. So Derek, so how do you have so many properties? Like where did you get the financing from?
All right, so financing properties. So I guess that's like one of the biggest misnomers about real estate, right? So I guess being financially literate and just reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man of Babylon, and things like that. Um, I purchased all my deals without my own money, OPM, other people's monies, right? And so we use what we call lines of credit, right? And so with lines of credit, it's just like a loan, but you go to a bank and you ask for a line of credit. Now, in layman's terms, a line of credit is just like a credit card, except it's cash. You only pay on what you use. So let's say like you go to a bank like Regions, you say, hey, Regions, I would like to apply for a line of credit. Well, based on your credit score, they're going to say, okay, well, we can offer you 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever the number is. And so you want to apply for multiple lines of credit. I think I'm up to maybe like $75,000 in lines of credit today personally.
Mm.
And that's just on a personal side. That's not business credit just yet.
Okay. Um, is it difficult getting lines of credit? Like they base it on your credit score and uh, W-2s and things like that?
Yeah, so if you're a W-2 worker, it doesn't matter if you work at Burger King, if you're mopping floors, it doesn't matter. Take care of your credit, right? If you don't have good credit, you can go get a secured credit card, right? You just go to a local bank or a credit union, and they'll work with you on building your credit, and you'll need about a 650, 680. And then, like I said, you may not be able to get the $15,000 or $20,000 line of credit, but a $5,000 line of credit is just as good.
Okay. So you have a mixture of single family, you said multifamily.
Indeed.
You do long distance investing?
Indeed. So I live in Dallas, Texas. I invest solely with my rental properties in Shreveport, Louisiana, also in Monroe, Louisiana. So I like to invest long distance because over here, Texas, I'm not gonna say the market is tough. It's just I'm uncomfortable in this market because I'm originally from Louisiana. So the numbers that are over here are a bit more difficult for me to swallow, right? So it's just one of those things where that same duplex that we talked about, my first deal, I bought my first home over here, I think in 2018, 2019, 180,000. The property taxes the first year on that place was $5,000. I own a duplex or I control a duplex over there in Louisiana, and the property taxes on that guy is $120 a year.
Okay. All right. So how long you been buying property?
So I've been an investor for about 5 years now. But mentally, I've probably been an investor for about 10 to 15 years. you know, but it took me a long time to get in. So it took me a really, really long time to get into the game because I mean, I've been wanting to get into real estate since 2009. When I was in college and undergrad, like I said, I watched my aunt. I got my homeboys, Lamont Wood, Jeremy Taylor, Emmanuel Baker. Those guys were doing their thing, and I remember me and Lamont was sitting outside of a building, and it was kind of abandoned, and we was just looking at it one day, and just dreaming, just wanting to get into the game. And at the time, we didn't even understand, what it took to make those type of things happen. But Lamont paved the way for us. He was able to figure the matrix out. And once we figured the matrix out of how to finance real estate, I think it was just the ways up from that part, because I believe that you really have to understand who you are, and what you want to do when you start beginning to invest in real estate. Do you want to flip homes? Do you want multifamilies? Do you want single families? Do you want commercial? Do you want residential? So you really have to take time to figure out where you want to go.
Okay. Back to the beginning with your first deal. How did you find it?
So actually, Lamont Woods, I found my first deal. He lives in Monroe, and he's boots on the ground. So he was heavy into investing. I think he probably had about 30 or 40 properties at that time. I was just now beginning to jump in, and just his network. So a network of people, man, that really are the people who gave me access and turned it on. And once I done that deal, then I began to figure it out, And once you begin to make a name for yourself in your local market, people will begin bringing you deals. You won't even have to look for deals anymore because people know that that's what you do. So once you begin to hunt for deals, and things like that, and you make your name and you have a proper foothold in that area, deals will come to you. The money will find you. Trust me.
Okay, there. What advice would you give to somebody who's new? who would like to become a real estate investor?
Study. My first word would be study. That's a strong word for me. Study. Study yourself. Man, we did a ton of podcasts, Bigger Pockets, Untitled Capital Real Estate, like Black Real Estate Dialogue, Sam, all those guys. Just listening to a ton of investors before us. You wanna get into this nuance, and you really want to understand as much as you can, because no matter how many books you read, how much podcasting you do, it's not real until you get hit in the face. Until you get your first property. My first property, I did not have a clue what I was doing at all. No management. I had no clue of management. Now, I had read a book about management, but when you got tenants calling you all day, they're telling you that the sink don't work, and you don't even have a network of people to go over and fix that, it can be very, very nerve-wracking and create anxiety.
Okay. Are you managing the properties yourself now, or you use property managers?
No, indeed. So that's when I was raw. That's when I was raw. I didn't have a system. So today we have a system whereby when we purchase the homes, we have property management on it. So we put those homes into property management, and once we get them into property management, we don't just turn off our noses to our properties. Once we turn it over to property management, we meet with property management twice a month, and not only do we do that, we go over the numbers, we go over the problems, we go over the maintenance, we keep our eyes strictly on the numbers, and we make sure that we maintain situations as well. So for guys who are new getting out there, just because you give your homes to a property manager, you have to remember it's still your stuff, and at the end of the day, you're responsible for it. So one thing that we require of our property managers is just, to email us the leases and everything like that of that nature, so we can get those leases into the cloud, so we can make sure that we, know who's in the units. And so by having a system, we want to make sure that we don't have any bottlenecks. And so we got one property manager that's been doing really well for us that we've been working with for quite a bit, but we're ready to expand to another property manager. So we'll be looking for another one soon.
Okay. So, Derrick, what is your favorite book or some book recommendations?
Wow. My favorite easy read for people who are not readers would be Richest Man of Babylon. I truly believe that you first need to understand financial literacy before you get into this game. Uh, my favorite investing book is the cliche. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad. That book is life changing. Right now, as we speak, I'm reading Cash Flow Quadrant. Before we got on, I was just skimming it. So I'm reading a Cash Flow Quadrant and by Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm also reading the One Thing by Gary Keller, the guy Keller Williams Company. So I'm reading the One Thing, and I'm almost done with that guy. So those are some of the books that I would recommend. Just finding your purpose, and trying to make an understanding, because in real estate, one of the things about wielding real estate, you have people's lives at stake in your hands. And you want to do the right things as far as rehabbing a home, giving them something new, and having a system to go off of. And the more that you educate yourself, the more that you can educate the people around you. And if you're one of those persons who don't believe you need to educate yourself, be it reading, whatever it is, then you're going to stay stagnant and it's going to pass you by.
Okay. So, Derrick, do you teach this for people who are interested in getting into real estate?
We do, we do, we do. You can reach us on Instagram at Owl Investments 87, at Owl Investments on Instagram. But yeah, we do teach folks. So we have free classes, or we do like an IG live on the last Thursday of every month, right? And we'll just go over a random topic, covering it. Why should you get into real estate? Managing triplexes, managing duplexes, just things like that, just specific topics, about a 15-minute block. For those persons who really want to go in depth, we just had our first class of students to pass through. Shout out to Josh and Amber. They came through and they did their thing, and we definitely turn people up. Once or twice a year in Monroe, our local hometown, we do a free class. We give away knowledge, try to put those guys on as well.
Okay, Derrick. And one more time, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Well, I can give you my personal number. You can reach out to me at 318-348-4940. That's Owl Investments. You can find us on Instagram at Owl Investments 87. You can find myself on Instagram at D_Johnson59. So, it's easy to get in contact with me.
Okay. And the last question, did you have any last words you would like to leave for the listeners?
I would say follow your dreams. Make sure that when you open your eyes and you pick whatever lane in life that you want to go into, that you understand in your purpose. It's important that you understand your purpose because your purpose can align with what you're doing and what you're doing. And when you're walking every day, it doesn't feel like it's a strenuous situation. If it's for you, it's for you. And I just believe that you have to figure out what that one thing is so you can pull that one cord so that it aligns vertically with whatever you're trying to do in your life. That's all I got.
Okay. That sounds good, Derek. Thank you for being on the show and sharing your story.
Not at all. Thank you for having me. Take care.